Welcome to our first lens in the Lenses Equals Brushes series. So we're going to talk today about an ultra wide angle lens. And I want you to think about an ultra wide angle lens as a big brush. Why is it a big brush? Because an ultra wide angle lens is going to make big pictures, pictures with a big scope. So what do I mean by an ultra wide angle lens? I mean an ultra wide angle lens like the Canon 10-20 here on the R5 Mark II, or a 12-24, or this is my personal ultra wide angle lens, the Nikon 14-30 on my Z8. Now, when you look at these two ultra wide angle lenses, they're both amazing lenses that are super sharp because they're the pro quality. If you're going to buy a big wide angle lens, I would recommend the Sony G Master, the Canon L, or the Nikon S line. Now, these ultra wide angle lenses break down into two styles. Number one, with the big bulbous front like the Canon 10-20, the Nikon 14-24, the Sony 12-24, or a little bit slower aperture, but it has a filter ring like the Nikon 14-30 and the Canon 14-35. I personally prefer the one with the filter ring so that I can use a polarizer or a neutral density filter without a big filter attachment. Now, ultra wide lenses are big. What do I mean by that? They have a big field of view. You're going to take in a large image area. We traditionally think of an ultra wide angle lens for interiors and landscapes and scenery. That's the basic way to think about it. The artistic brush way is to think about the ultra wide angle lens gives you a big foreground. So if you're going to take an ultra wide angle lens, you're going to bring the camera up high and tip the lens down to give you a bigger foreground for landscape and scenic photography. Or you're going to take the lens for a big sky image, like for beautiful clouds or fall foliage, or for astronomy, Milky Way, light, star trails, stuff like that. And you're going to lower the camera to the ground and tilt the lens up to give you that big sky effect. Now, if you want buildings to be straight, trees to be straight, you need to keep the ultra wide angle lens parallel. But that's going to put the horizon in the middle of the picture. That's not where we want it compositionally. So that's why I love to raise the camera, tilt down for the foreground, or lower the camera, tilt up to make the big sky. That's how we're using an ultra wide angle lens as the brush to paint the picture, to see the scene. The other thing you need to remember about the ultra wide angle lens, the last thing I want you to think about with an ultra wide angle lens is the focus. Even though we use a wide aperture like 2.8 or 4 to focus on the foreground, you're still going to have good detail in the background. Yes, if we want foreground to background in focus, we're going to need to stop down to f8, f11, f16 to make sure we have enough depth of field. Know how to use your brush. That's right. With an ultra wide angle lens, we've got the big brush with a big scene for big foreground or big sky. That's the pro tip. And as Bob Ross would say, we're going to make happy little sand dunes using the big brush on the ultra wide lens in the desert at Death Valley.